Howdy, folks. I'm having a little crisis here. It's not that bad, but I'm kind of questioning how much of a grip I actually have on reality. I'm doing some production research for Wednesday's show coming up on EV Radio. This week in the anti-broadcast, we're going to discuss the Mandela effect. One of the more fringy crazes going on around the world via the internet, where people are starting to say, hey, that's different. I remember that differently. And the conclusion is that we've jumped into a different reality. Just to sum it up, it's called the Mandela effect because a lot of people have a memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. While I remember crystal clear, actually, watching him getting released in 1990 on television. And I was quite young, actually. Don't remember. Well, I can do the math, but I'm not going to tell you how young I was. I was definitely old enough to ask questions about what I was seeing. So I remember that crystal clear. So I just kind of assumed that if this is true, then I'm not one of those people who've jumped through into a different reality. Hang on a second. It's doing my head in that I can't hear my own voice as I usually do on the radio. I want to be able to keep an eye on how I sound. Okay. Alright, there we go. Works. What did I go and do that for? I'm such a spastic sometimes. Okay, so the thrust that I was going to come onto the show with was, this is ridiculous, this is stupid. Of course we're not in a different reality. All these different things have an explanation, which I have very, very good explanations for that I will present on the show. Very obvious explanations. But I've heard a few things that have gotten me to think, gotten me to wonder, am I right in this? The thing is, we could have actually jumped into a different reality. Just, skip that premise. Don't ask about the science or why. But say we did. And people start to notice this. That's going to drive people crazy. And then they're going to be coming out with, everything that they now learn they were mistaken about. They'll jump to say, Mandela effect. Like, for instance, the Lord's Prayer, which all Catholics remember as, and I remember this because it was every morning and every evening before we went home in Catholic school. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those... And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. While in the King James Version, which it goes, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Now, people were freaking out, thinking, ooh, Mandela effect. Well, no. They have forgotten that they're Catholics, and the King James Bible is Protestant. Okay, there's a big difference there. And when you have a non-Latin root language, it's not going to be word for word substitution. Okay? Trespass and debt, you could have either one. And you could argue about which one's the most appropriate. In earth and on earth, I have to side with the Protestant Bible here. The wording, biblical, the context, it's in earth. However, when we, as Catholics, were saying these prayers, we were saying it from the Common Book of Prayer, or the William Tyndale translation, the first ever English translation of the Bible. Now that's a very easy explanation. So let's say people have just lost their minds and they're putting out all these ideas that this is Mandela effect, that's Mandela effect. And we're discounting them and the whole idea of the Mandela effect, while at the end of the day, maybe something has changed. As I have been doing research, I've been looking for all the different claims and all the different reasonings and explanations people might have. And while looking at a YouTube video, I found it more interesting to scroll through the comments. Now, some guy has said that Britain is now as big as France and Germany. Britain, the island itself. Here. As far as I recall, it wasn't that big. Can somebody help me here? I really don't think Britain was ever that big. And I don't think Ireland, by scale, was that big either. And another thing that Italians point out, here in Europe at least, maybe to some Americans of this Italian descent, they pointed out that Italy always looked like a boot kicking Sicily, and that there was always a more substantial gap between Italy and the little island. Now there doesn't seem to be one at all. And I have to agree that my memory of Italy wasn't so much of a, what do they call it, a stiletto heel? Maybe. This is just how stupid I am. And how unattentive to detail I am. I'm quite well aware that we as human beings think that we're so much more intelligent than we actually are, We come up to the threshold of our capabilities in terms of our senses and our computing power, if you will, all the time. And we blame those things on ourselves as people and other people and blah blah blah. And we haven't quite owned that yet. We're not a fully conscious being. So maybe this Mandela effect stuff is just us come to terms with that we're not all that bright. We may miss things very easily. Some people are saying, when did Mexico get so big? Which is really stupid. Like, it's always been that big, right? In proportion. It's a pretty big fucking country. That's why there was that war, right? That's why they were able to hold off for so long, right? They weren't just some puny little thing. I think maybe that's a little United States chauvinism there. One fella on YouTube from Australia, it helps that he's from Australia, has pointed out that where's the Nevada desert? And that, you know, Las Vegas is supposed to be in the middle of a desert. This is desert, motherfucker. Look at that. That's all desert. Like, what the fuck do you think you're looking at here? Gotta love that technology. And then, you know, I don't know. The guy, you know, he admitted to not having any connections in the United States, and I'm pretty sure he never has been there. But I think there's always been this kind of mythology around, oh, you know, Las Vegas, it's in the middle of a desert. You know, this Jewish entrepreneur, he went out into the middle of the desert and he created an empire. So it's like, yeah, out in the middle of the wilderness, like Jesus or some shit. And I think, along with that mythology, people assume that there shouldn't be any water next to it. This guy was saying, oh my god, Las Vegas has its own lake. Just think about this, folks. Why would you build anything any considerable distance away from water? Do you know how much energy it takes to transport it? And Hoover Dam, right? That's allegedly not supposed to be there. Is it there? I don't know, it's somewhere around there. But you kind of need hydroelectricity to power the damn city. So, of course, Hoover Dam is there. Sorry guys, I'm just really gassy and I just don't have the patience to hold it in. Now people are also saying that they don't recognize the location of Pacific Islands and such, and the location of, say, New Zealand. A lot of people say, hey, I don't remember New Zealand being two islands. To which I'll ask, hey, when's the last time you looked at New Zealand? I've taken a peek at New Zealand a few years ago. I had a friend from there. And I was okay, this is a little stalkerish. I wanted to go and look at her house. I admit, that's kind of weird. She appreciated the effort. But I was well aware, back 12 years ago, New Zealand was 2 islands. So no surprise there for me. People are saying that, what's this island called? Madagascar. That was further up north and further east. I can't relate to that whatsoever. And maybe it's because I live in Europe, so that's all that I can relate to, really. That I find myself taken aback by the tremendous size of the British Isles in relation to the rest of Europe, and the island of Sicily being closer to Italy. While the boot, that is Italy, was more masculine, as far as I remember. Now it's more feminine, as in it's a high heel. We have to remember that our maps have changed. And I know that some people out there don't believe in satellites. But I do. Damn, that's trippy. Milky Way. So with the introduction of satellites and the help of Google, we have a very definite measurement and outline of every single feature on the planet. While back in the day it was a bunch of mathematics, and also a lot of political bias. I forget the name of the map, but for like hundreds of years they had us looking at this map that greatly exaggerated the size of Europe and greatly diminished the size of Africa and South Asia. And maybe that's what leads to people's confusion when it comes to Mexico. However, I do have to agree with people that say that South America itself is looking a little skinny these days. She's lost a bit of weight. In comparison to the northern continent. So I don't know, folks. What's going on here? What a beautiful, beautiful planet. Some say that they don't remember Russia being so close to Alaska. But it was, so shut the fuck up. That's my response. I definitely remember it literally being this close. I mean, that's what led to the political tension. That's why you have a thing called Alaska. It used to belong to Russia. Now, isn't this a strange political boundary right here? Some say that they don't remember Mongolia. How could you not remember Mongolia? Oh yeah, Western chauvinism. And while we're in this part of the planet, the Russians have extended legislation to apply not only to Russian citizens, but all European peoples, that you would be given a hectare of land if you meet the requirements to farm or open a business in the eastern section of the country, because the white population is slumping downwards, and if the Chinese population takes too much of a hold, well, they'll just annex that part of Russia. It's a cool opportunity. Look into it. If you can stand the cold, that is. So, I've got 2.5 days to figure out what is this Mandela effect thing. Can I come up with alternative explanations other than, yes, it's all true, no, it's all bullshit? Because I'm not entirely certain. Like I said at the beginning, I keep an open mind, and my mind is open to a fault, really. I've played around with pretty strange ideas, been convinced by some pretty strange ideas. I always work through them and come to a level head. But this one honestly scares me. Let me know what you think. Much love. Check the description of this video, by the way, for the G+ event for Wednesday's show. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, G+. All the stuff's down there. Have a good night.